What's going on, y'all? Happy New Year. First of all, we back from this, I guess, little hiatus, what you say, the bowl season and everything. And I'm gonna tell you, I was sick as a dog. That flu bug jumped on me. I know it may have gotten on my boy Eric a little bit, but he's younger, so he kind of persevered through. It knocked me off my feet, y'all. But Happy New Year. We back just talking ball. What's going on, Eric?
Oh man, it's been a heck of a football day. It's supposed to be a slow day, and
I know.
it's been a wild day.
I know, and and it's kind of a good thing. We're gonna get into it, but I'm glad this is the day we chose to do it because it's fresh. It's not breaking, but it's at least still fresh. The games we're gonna talk about for our guys are it's got a little mold on them, but nevertheless, we are true dedicated, fans, and we're gonna ride for our team. But this is what we're gonna get into on the show right here. Obviously we're gonna talk about what we're mad about. The GOAT retires. If unless you lived under a rock, you know who I'm referring to when I say the GOAT, and among other things that went on
Shout out
today.
Pete Carroll.
Pete Carroll is a GOAT, but that wasn't the GOAT I was talking about. But nevertheless, he is. I love Pete Carroll. We're gonna recap this great bowl season. We're not gonna talk about all of them, obviously. And kind of just sum things up, man. First season wrap, and go from there, man. But first of all, first things first, what do you think about the GOAT retiring?
Now that we can confirm that Dan Lanning's in Tuscaloosa, I feel much better. I'm not gonna lie.
Breaking news right there.
Yeah, I wasn't nervous, right? Because I don't think if we're just being honest and you sit back and apples to apples, the Texas program as it stands today, the Alabama program as it stands today, it's a lateral move, right? Mm-hmm. So what do you do? Why would you leave Austin to go to Tuscaloosa? And I think that's a fair question. I think any rationally minded person says you probably don't. Mm-hmm. So, looking at what Nick Saban has built, man, I don't think I can confidently say, I know that we'll never see that level of greatness in today's era of modern 100%. Football.
100%.
NIL, the portal, all of these things have basically become dynasty busters, right? Mm-hmm. So there's not a lot that will allow teams to just be great for that. Think about this. Alabama has been a top 3, if not top 3, top 5 team every single year since definitely 2009. Mm-hmm. That's 14 years.
Yes.
15 years if you jump into the next year.
Of dominance. I'm going to say dominance.
Of dominance. You will never, ever. So 15 seasons, he won 7 titles. So half of the last 15 years, he has had the best team in college football. Yeah. That is wild.
274 wins, by the way.
274 wins, which is you only play 10. You only
guaranteed 11,
13 games a year.
Yes,
that's crazy.
Yes.
So honored to
29
to
losses.
Have
29 losses.
That's crazy.
I'm just going off my memory, looking at stuff.
29 losses, and he coached for 27 years.
I think that's his Alabama. Now, I think that's his Alabama stats.
Okay,
that's his Alabama stats. Yeah.
But across his career, he probably averages less than 2
no doubt,
losses
because it wasn't like he wasn't great at LSU.
It wasn't like he wasn't great at LSU. So he probably averages less than 2 losses per season for every season that he coached college football. If you watch the game, that's out. That's not even outstanding. That's outrageous. It's one of those
that's video games
that people tell you. Yeah, that's me and NCAA coming soon.
That would not be. I will. You would have been better off saying Madden. Not NCAA.
Well,
no,
we've already seen that. But that's one of those numbers, right? That someone tells you, and you got to go look because it just sounds outrageous.
Exactly.
I'll give you another
one real quick.
Go ahead.
He's put more first-round draft picks in the league than he has losses.
That's wild.
44 first rounders in his tenure at Alabama with 29 losses.
And I don't know that you'll ever have, I don't think there's a coach in America Kirby Smart's getting close.
Mhm,
Dabo was close for a
mhm,
while. That just has that cachet to walk into any. There are people the that revolve around a sport. Their
mhm.
life is the sport,
Yeah,
and there are people that the sport revolves around. And college football revolves around Nick Saban.
yeah,
College football this past season for a period of time revolved around Deion Sanders,
yeah, yeah.
right? And that is rare air
Mhm,
where your words can move an entire sport.
yeah,
So I'm anxious to see how this changes the game, because now there are a bunch of dominoes set to fall, right?
and
Whomever replaces Nick
yeah,
Saban
it's gonna yeah,
is going to leave a vacancy, right? So assume for now, right? Let's say it is Dan Lanning, because the Alabama AD told the players they expect to have the hire within 48 hours. So that tells me a couple
wow.
things.
That they knew
It
it was
tells me,
coming.
yeah,
They knew it was
they knew it was
coming.
coming. They
Mhm,
had a plan.
yes,
They're
yes,
executing against that
mhm,
plan.
yes, and
So
that's clean. That's that's
So for
serene, yeah.
conversation purposes, right? Assume it's Dan Lanning. So now
Mhm,
you create a vacancy at Oregon. You
uh-huh,
look at their staff. There's no one there to take that job. So that they go take from another program.
like you say,
That
yeah.
other program has to fill a void.
And on, yeah.
How many? How long will this blast reverberate around college football?
You're right.
And I think we'll be talking about it, for at least another 2 weeks, because
Mhm,
all of these dominoes will fall.
no doubt.
Kudos to whomever chooses to follow Nick Saban, because we always say it. And I honestly, I thought about it. I really thought about it in my drive home. I thought about it a couple different ways. I don't know of a coach who was successful following the guy.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
I'm wrong, drop it in the comments.
yeah,
Shoot us a note, leave me a message. But
yeah.
I can't think off the top of my head of who was the guy that followed the guy and was successful in their own right. There's usually a gap there, right? There's usually a kind of a sacrificial lamb, so to speak.
I
And then
completely
there's another guy that gets
yeah,
there. And
you're right, and you're exactly right. We talk about it, and we don't wanna sound cliche, even and that's at every level. That's at the high school level, that's at
yeah,
the,
yeah,
the college level and pro level. I would say, being a Cowboys guy, when it went from Jimmy Johnson to Barry Switzer, but that's a little different as far as like contracts, and you're gonna have that team no matter what. And you could
yeah.
say it was on autopilot. Same thing with Miami, with who left when golly,
When
Larry
Larry
Coker,
Cooper
yeah,
left,
Larry,
and,
and
uh,
Al Golden, was it Al
no,
Golden? No,
no,
what?
Larry Coker.
We're going before. Who's before
No,
him?
Larry Coker won with somebody else's guys.
That's what that. Okay, yeah. So
Larry
I mean,
Coker won with,
it's
don't make me
killing me.
lie to you. I'll go back. But yes.
I know. But do
So
you?
what
Yeah.
I
So
will say, and
yeah.
I talked to, so the reason, so I've actually known, when did I text you? I think I've actually known since about 3 o'clock that Dan Lanning
Hmm.
was en route at that time to
Yeah.
Tuscaloosa. Um one of the things I said to one of my friends whose dad is a huge Alabama booster,
Hmm.
Dan Lanning's a good guy for a lot of reasons. Long term, no clue what it'll look like, but
Hmm.
this keeps the wheels on the bus for next
Hmm.
season for sure. And that's all you really want. I,
Yeah.
as a fan of a program that has gone through a rebuild and a
Hmm.
transition, and it's two completely different things.
Yeah.
A
And he.
transition is manageable. A
Yes.
complete rebuild is a nightmare. Even
Yeah.
in today's world of NIL and portal, no one has
Hmm.
mastered it. We thought some people got close. We thought Prime was close. We thought Matt Rule was close at Nebraska. But fast
Absolutely.
forward to the end of the season, right? No one has mastered
No
a
doubt.
rebuild in 1 year yet.
And and
So
and it's even going to be even harder because of just those things you mentioned, NIL, all that type of stuff, the portal. But like you say, it's tough because success is measured in different ways. And I don't care what nobody says. Nobody saw Nick Saban doing what he did at Alabama coming
no,
from LSU.
not
And
so not
yeah,
so consistent.
and so
Now,
dominant at times where they looked
yeah.
unbeatable,
Did you
unbeatable.
expect that he would go and win national championships? Yes. Did you expect that he'd win SEC titles? Yes.
Yeah.
But people also forget what Alabama was in
Well, I'm about to say. Well,
2004,
I,
2005,
yeah,
2006.
yeah.
I don't remember. I couldn't, and I follow college football as close as anybody. I cannot
Mike
tell
Shula,
you.
Dennis Franchione. Mike
I
Shula
can't
is.
even. Nick Saban has been so
I
powerful
know.
and has been so overbearing at that university. I couldn't even tell you who he took the job from.
You, I can't. I hate to say it.
It doesn't even matter.
Being, I know
It
you're right.
doesn't
It doesn't.
even.
It doesn't. You're
That's
right.
what I'm saying. Like
And
that's how big this man has been to
and
this sport and to this
but like you
institution.
say, and not even that. Even what Alabama was in the heyday, as far as Bear Bryant, and how everyone
Yep.
coached under that shadow of Bear
Yep.
Bryant and the glory days and the dominance of those, 7 national championships he had. So now Nick Saban is like here, if not here. You know what I'm saying? So
And even until the last, I don't know, maybe the last 5, 6 years. It's only been 5 years since we stopped hearing Bear Bryant's name.
you're right.
That was always the stick. That was
Yeah, you're
always
right. Always
what
the benchmark.
Nick
Yeah, and I
Saban
mean,
was
and
measured against. So this next guy, you talk about success is measured in a couple different ways, not in Tuscaloosa.
no
It's
doubt.
measured in 3 ways:
Yeah.
Iron Bowl victories,
Hmm.
SEC championships,
And
national
national champ,
championships.
exactly.
If
And
it's
so,
not, if it's not one of those 3 things, it is inconsequential and the season was a failure to
exactly.
the extent, and I think it hasn't happened in so long. I think people forget how there are certain places where rivalry games alone will get you fired.
Hmm.
Ryan Day is experiencing that at Ohio State. He's only got 2 more, and this is regardless of what happens, by the way.
Yeah.
Short of losing that game and then still going on to win a national title for some
Yeah. Yeah.
odd reason,
But
right?
it's put a bigger light.
He's only got 2 more losses in the game.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But it's also, but it's,
Probably one, but
yeah, I'm gonna say it's put a bigger
maybe
light because of what's just happened. That's what I'm
right.
saying.
Maybe if the
Yeah.
admin really likes him, he can stretch it out to 1 more, but
Yeah.
he ain't
Yeah.
getting a third.
And we always talk about, those get out of jail free cards when you fire your
Right.
coordinators first, when okay, you got to do something, and
You
but
only
yeah,
get so many losses in the Iron Bowl,
yeah. So
right?
yeah, so does, and I could be messing up some names, but does Nick Saban become Philip Fulmer? Does he become
Yes.
Barry Alvarez? Does he become,
Yes.
those guys
Yes.
that
And
so
that's another thing
yeah.
that I think. So I think Dan Lanning
Hmm.
could, because a lot of times, and when we think about what names that were coming to mind, where the guy that follows the guy, they went way out of the realm,
Yeah.
right? They went to guys that didn't maybe understand the program, didn't
Hmm.
understand how things were done, didn't bring the old guy back into the
Ignorant,
fold.
ignorant of the pressure, ignorant of the
Correct.
pressure.
So Dan Lanning could work for a couple of reasons, and some of these things cut both ways.
Yeah.
He understands the pressure, he understands the infrastructure, and he understands the routine of winning.
Hmm.
Every day is greatness. And people say that. I know this in my professional world. I thought I was good, right? I thought I was good
Hmm.
every day
Hmm.
until I went to work with people
Yeah.
that are at an elite level every day. And that gets exhausting
Yeah.
mentally, physically, to have to be elite and to demand greatness every single day. So Dan Lanning has seen that. He understands that. That's reason one. Reason two, he can embrace the past. The
Mhm.
worst thing you can
Mhm. Being a
do,
younger
and
guy, yeah,
being a younger guy,
because you
the
haven't really
worst thing that can
established
happen,
yourself. Yeah.
correct. The worst
Yeah.
thing that can happen for a program, speaking from experience, right, is to have the guy that follows the guy
Mhm.
try to keep the guy away from the program.
Mhm. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yes.
And it
But
just
he
it
couldn't do it if
creates
he wanted to.
it
Yeah.
creates a resentment. It
Mhm.
creates and honestly, here's what it should do for you. You bring Nick Saban into the fold. Nick Saban's going to go on to be on TV. Nick Saban has a personality and he has a voice that people want to hear.
Yeah.
So you better have this guy in your camp
Mhm.
because the first time you do lose to Auburn, Nick Saban's going to be the first one they talk to on TV.
Yeah.
And if Nick Saban can say, but Dan's doing the right things, but
Yeah.
I see
Hmm.
myself in him,
Yeah.
but the program's in good hands, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
that buys you a lot of grace
Oh, no
that you don't
doubt.
think you'll
No doubt.
need because everyone
That
at
in
that level
yeah.
has been great and they think they'll continue to be great and never befall hard times.
Oh, yeah. That
So,
endorsement is priceless. Yeah.
exactly. So, Nick
Yeah.
Saban's presence in Tuscaloosa will loom large.
Yeah.
And I think Dan Lanning can embrace it, or it could cut the other way. And guys always remember what was and
Mhm. You're
yearn for that
yeah.
for another year or two.
Or it
And
might
then
not be Dan
three,
Lanning at all.
correct, might not be Dan Lanning at all. But honestly, and you heard it here first, that's who they want.
Yeah.
And they will spare no expense. If it's a no, it's because Dan Lanning thinks he's on the cusp of something special in Eugene.
Mhm.
But let us not remember Oregon's going to the Big Ten.
Mhm.
That travel, um, that travel
Mhm.
every other Saturday,
Mhm.
2 Saturdays in a row,
Just the time zone
coast to
stuff
coast.
alone.
We're not
Mhm.
talking about going from Texas to Tennessee.
Yeah.
We are literally talking about coast to coast. If they're not playing USC,
Mhm.
they are having to go to the other side of the country
Yeah.
weekly.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that. I
Yeah.
don't care who you are. I don't care what resources you have. Ohio State doesn't want it. Michigan
It
doesn't want it.
it takes
Will
a
they
little bit
do
out of
it?
you.
Will
Yeah.
they do it? Will they still continue to be elite? Or will they develop into this league like Big 12 basketball that cannibalizes itself? You
I
beat
know.
up on each other so bad every week, and then you get in the tournament and you ain't got nothing left. Then you
Yeah.
get in the playoffs and you ain't got nothing left. So I think all of those things are at play. But there are two names you hear. They want Dan Lanning or they want Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin as the head coach of Alabama is must see TV. I'm here for it. I hope that is that's something
Yeah.
that
I don't
gets some
know.
traction. That would be fun. But it's the same thing, right? And all those same reasons
Yeah.
exist of he's going to embrace the guy.
Oh, oh yeah.
He is going to kick Alabama into this decade
Mhm.
in terms of so all of the things outside of the program.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it really excited as a team that's moving into the SEC. It's a really exciting time to be a fan of college football.
So no Sark. You're not entertaining a Sark rumor.
Not until I hear a reason. Not
Uh,
until I hear a credible reason, because
yeah.
honestly, and this I take the burnt orange beanie off and all that. You tell me, I would need to hear one of two things because I can do it for Ole Miss. I can do it for Oregon. I
Mhm.
haven't been able to do it for Texas in terms of what do you get or what exists today in Tuscaloosa that is not in Austin and you don't think you can get.
Exactly. And I was gonna say the same thing. I was doing it to Pokey, but like same thing. Texas will be able to match whatever they offer and then some.
Mhm.
I think Sark is getting this thing rolling now. So
Well,
why
there
leave
is a
now?
world, and there is a world just to say, could Texas match anything? Absolutely. Would they? I don't know. Crazy scenario that's not so crazy. One of the what I said if I were the AD of Alabama and Sark was my guy, I
Mhm.
offer Sark 5 years, $12 million. Makes you the highest paid football coach, makes you
Mhm.
the highest paid coach in college football.
Which Nick Saban
At,
was.
at minimum, yes, which
Uh-huh.
Nick Saban was.
Mhm.
So at a minimum, you do two things. You either it's a win-win for you as a new rival, right? It's a win-win where either he says yes
Mhm.
and he comes, or he says no, but Texas has to match that money. And now you're limiting their resources to compete with you, right? So there is a world where, somebody could say a crazy number
Mhm.
that Texas's AD considers,
Mhm.
do we need to? Now, what I will say, and this from talking to some of the really influential people in Austin,
Mhm.
this is the very first time since some of these people who've been on campus 15 plus years where They were aligned from the chairman of the board of regents to the president of the university to the athletic director, where they all wanted the same guy. They all
Nice.
had the
I
same
mean, yeah, you
vision.
did mention that.
They
I do
all
remember
they
that.
all wanted the same thing.
Mm,
I don't know that they so willingly let that go, right?
yeah,
Because they've seen what it can do. So I think it's an interesting question, and
yeah.
I think John Cohen is the formerly of Mississippi State, I believe, is the new
Mm,
AD or the newish AD at Alabama.
mhm.
I make the call. What's the worst that could happen? Because
Exactly.
those days aren't those days don't exist anymore. Where I think ADs didn't want to get turned. The only AD that probably doesn't want to get turned down by a head coach is in Aggie land, right? That's only because that's just embarrassing, right?
Yeah.
When they called Vic Schaefer and he said no, thank you. That's just embarrassing.
Shot.
But
Boom,
it
boom.
doesn't. But it doesn't do. Those days that used to matter, where a
No, it
coach
did.
used to say
It did.
they
It
tried
did.
to get me over there, and I
Because
said no
it
because I
speaks to
believe
the
in his
press.
ways.
It will also speaks to the prestige or the want of your program, and it gives you
Hmm.
a a reality check on where you really are outside of your nice cushy bubble of self loving. But yeah, so that's hot. That's brand new. Who knows what's to come? I mean, we won't be back for a while. We might do a short. Something just crazy happens, but I mean, golly, congratulations to Coach Saban on there's not a word strong enough to talk about how great he was, and like you said, you talked about the time and like him being a grinder and doing it every day and doing it the Alabama way. And I mean, the results showed it, man. And like I say, last thing about you talk about the dominoes falling, they lost about 2 or 3 5-star
Commitments
recruit. Yeah,
already.
yeah. So I mean, and like I said, that's not just because it's Alabama. That happens whenever, A&M saw it happen to them, so
But
that's
all the
nothing.
more reason, right? All the more reason to put it to bed. All the more reason for that guy to get the new kids in their
Yeah.
camp. I think the portal. I don't know the rules around the portal when there's a coaching change. So I don't because I think the portal was set to close on what the
No,
15th.
I said, yeah, the 30-day, and then it's gonna. So when things like that happen, that spring window will be another chance to do it. So that's kind of like when that 30 days closes. Okay, a new guy comes in. Okay, you're
But
going through it. Okay,
that gives the kids a chance,
both
right? That
sides
gives
to say,
that
okay,
that gives
now it's the
that
spring
actually works
evaluation.
out.
That's the
That
spring
actually works out for
evaluation.
the head coach
Exactly.
for the
Yes.
new head coach because he has an
Yes.
opportunity. But
Exactly.
I think they'll get a small window tacked on to the existing window. Um, so you just worry, if you're an Alabama fan, how many of these kids get out the door and we don't get a chance to save them.
Well, not like you just said.
Um,
48 hours is the projected or the rumor about how they want to put this baby to bed and get it going and
right.
have leadership in place. So I mean that's their problem. I got my own problems, so
There
I
you
mean,
go.
so
Facts.
we're moving on. So we're gonna talk about what you mad about. We talk about this is always a fun deal. I'm not gonna talk about the portal, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not gonna talk about NIL. I'm actually mad that the college football season's over. That's what I'm mad about. Thank God my Cowboys are rolling, got something to look forward to in the NFL, but I'm mad about that. But I will tell you this. I don't think nobody's more mad than Stephen A. Smith right now. But I'm not going, I don't know, Eric. I mean,
Dude,
yeah,
I I've
I'm
seen.
not
I
trying to be an
think there's like a
instigator,
yeah. No,
but
I've seen. I think there's like a 3 minute clip, and there are some things that just as men we
Mhm.
know as professional men. On top of that, right?
Yeah,
There are just
yeah.
certain lines we never
Don't
cross. And
cross.
when Stephen A. talked about before this podcast, he called his pastor, he called his daytime bosses, he called his family,
His sister, his
and,
nieces and
and
nephews.
said, "I'm about to be a different person
Yeah,
on
unrecognizable.
TV
Yeah, he said you're not gonna
than you've
recognize me.
ever
Yeah.
seen."
Yeah.
That's
When you
noteworthy.
preface it with that, yeah,
And
it's
I think, and there, we talk about a couple different things and we fight a couple of different battles as men and then as black
yeah,
men and all that. There's so many things at
yeah.
play. Um, I'm mad that it's funny, it's entertaining. I am going to watch. I am going to have commentary, but
I watched it live. I watched it live.
I guess maybe with that, one of the things I'm mad about is that it spilled over. in the
Yeah.
public view.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things we always talk about, certain people just don't get the benefit. Certain cultures, let me say it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Certain cultures don't get the benefit of airing their dirty laundry.
Mm-hmm.
And, I just,
And
it's entertaining. I'll watch,
but it's
but
also
I
people's
just
real
think
lives. It's also real life too. This is real
it's real life. And it
professional
was the
lives.
same
Yeah.
thing with Cat Williams. For as
Yeah.
entertaining as that was, and all
Jesus.
that, you see people getting torn down. Now, look how big that's gotten. They're realizing everybody steals jokes, and Bernie Mac's taking strays from the grave. And, it's just, it's just one of those things. It's just crazy.
And he's gonna be in Austin Friday. He's gonna be in your backyard Friday.
What it is, though, it is a master class in marketing.
Yeah.
And it is a master class in there's no such thing as bad press. Yeah. Because we don't even talk about the lies. And what made it so entertaining is that the Cat Williams incident I'm referring to now. But what made it so entertaining is that he told a lot of truth, stitched together with a lot of lies.
That's crazy.
And it made it great TV. Listen, by the way, we don't really cuss on here because we're a family show. But please don't tell me at 54 that your ass is running a sub 4.4.
Well,
I don't know a lot, but I know better.
You took the word.
I don't know a lot, but I know better.
We're not going to be like Aaron Rodgers and go off to a different realm. So that's how we bring it back into sports related. When he did that, so did anybody see the video when somebody was timing him in the gym? Now, I'm gonna tell you this off the form, and we're nobody, but Cat Williams could come for us. Off the running form.
You ran. No, don't dim your light. You ran track.
Oh yeah,
you ran track.
I'm about to tell you.
You know a sub 4.4.
I'm about to tell you.
See it.
I'm about to tell you. Off the running form alone, and just the noise of the footwork. And you know how you got friends hang around with people that'll pump you up, and we're like, yeah, look at it. Just hearing that, whoever that was in the background voice. He fit the profile of gassing him up. Oh yeah, look at that 4.4 sound like. And for a minute, I had to question myself because you and I off air talked about so many fake things on the internet, so many lies, so many this and that. I'm like, so I bet he got a small sample size of people to go out there and see, hey, maybe I still got it at one time. I wasn't one of them because I know that I'll be doing this show from the emergency room with not a pulled hamstring, but a ruptured hamstring, trying to run a sub 4.
This is one of those cases where, and I despise when people I tell people that I used to do it all the time, so I know it when I see it. This is one of those cases where the truth would have been sufficient. You did not have to lie. Yes. Tell me I am very fast for 54.
Exactly.
I buy that.
Yeah.
I buy that. I saw now that I did see on tape.
Because
you probably are fast.
Because it's relative too.
You probably are fast. Yeah. For if I line up 30, 54-year-olds, you probably are in the top 2.
Exactly.
I buy that. But if I line you up against a bunch of 25-year-olds that's running 4.4 flats, you don't even belong. I saw this, and I wish we had this clip for the purpose of this. But they talked about, they say, you want to make the Olympics more popular in America and the non-basketball, swimming when it's Michael Phelps, gymnastics when it's
you want to talk about the flag football.
But you want no. They said you need to put regular people in these sports so that I can just really appreciate how outstanding. And there's this clip that exists. They put this lady, and she's in a hijab. I don't even know what country this is in. But they put this lady. You need to send it. They put this lady on a track with world-class track athletes.
You're talking about the daughter of the minister of athletics for I know exactly. Yes,
they put this.
I sent you that. No, I sent that to you.
It might have been you that sent me this.
She ran like a 26-second 100-meter. Yes. And the country was so embarrassed. Oh, I cannot remember the country, but she was like the niece of the minister of
Exactly.
athletics for the yes. But not only that, we're gonna put that on there. But not only that, it was also when they talked about the flag football being in the Olympics, and somebody made a joke about, "Ooh, I can't wait for all these guys that sit around critiquing NFL players. I'm about to burn this eighth grade middle school history teacher talking all this noise against me because he made his Olympic team for his country. It's like
Correct.
it was just dude. So, and that's what I'm saying, man. Know where you are, show respect, have appreciation. Everybody's gonna be critical about it, but stay in your lane. And I'm not going to elaborate more on the 40. There was other things like the 30 books at 6 years old, or I don't know what that. I don't know. We're not gonna let Cat Williams
So
take out
he
take out.
was great.
It
He
was
was
it,
great.
it was.
Stephen A was
He's funny.
great.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
the goat. The goat retiring. I mean, it's been some. The new year has gotten off to a fast start.
what I'm mad about
Yeah.
is, and we'll talk
Shout
about.
out to the Kansas girls women's basketball team who
Hey, I'll
defeated
get behind that.
Baylor. Baylor today got their. I will keep it real. Got their first conference win finally, but against a juggernaut. That's a program win because what the coach at Baylor is doing, she is doing a hell of a job there. So that is a huge win. Baylor also took down Texas earlier in the year in Austin, but I know Texas lost a big piece of their
The
team.
the without with hey, and I'm not
Yeah,
because there's no transference, right? There's
yeah,
no this coulda, woulda, shoulda. I
yeah.
just think it's important to add the footnote
No
of
doubt, no doubt.
Texas was without two
Roar.
starters,
Uh,
both its leading two scorers, its leading two rebounders,
who
and
else was
All
out besides
American
Rory?
Taylor Jones.
Okay.
They're
Oh,
starting five.
oh,
She's the leading scorer on the team.
yeah. I saw her
So
in person.
with
Yeah, I remember that.
yeah, so without your leading top two leading scorers, your top two leading rebounders, your assist leader, your floor leader,
He's giving it.
defensively,
He's giving it to you.
without all that, they still came into Austin. There had to be about 9,000 fans in the building. Won the game. So kudos to Nikki Colen, and because
Mhm.
there are people in Waco still don't
I
believe
know.
that she
Yeah,
deserved
yeah.
that
She's doing a
job.
hell of a job. What are they, number 4? They were number
They're
4
number
going
4.
into tonight. They were going into
Tonight they
tonight.
were number 4 in the country
Went into
and
Lawrence, and we do what we do.
went into Lawrence and didn't walk out with a dub. I'm excited because we still get a chance to go to Waco. So
Do
we'll be a different team.
man,
We're
do I
speaking of
have
different
it?
teams.
Wait, wait,
Speaking
wait,
of
wait, wait,
different
wait, wait, wait.
what?
Shout out to the ladies. Do I still have it
Oh
somewhere?
god.
Let me see. I mean, you got to get a little. I'm an appreciation. I'm behind women's sports. I'm here for it. Women's sports,
Free ticket for you on January 16th when they come to Austin if you
I'm
want to
there.
go.
I'm there.
Uh
I don't run from it.
your
But
wife's got a game. We already talked about it. You ain't gonna be able to go. But I want you there. I would love to have you there. But no, speaking of teams not being the same, that ties into what I'm mad about, and we'll talk about it here in a second.
Mhm.
Michael Penix goes from literally the statistical game of his career
Mhm.
against the University of Texas Longhorns, where he couldn't miss, and
Couldn't.
he threw it in the windows this big, you know, and got to Houston. The lights got really bright, and he couldn't have thrown it into the ocean from a boat. And it's one of those things we talked about it. I got some friends that didn't even watch the game because they kind of knew, they're like, I'm not gonna watch it, I'll get mad.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll watch it. It's a national championship.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
I'm not gonna sit here and say Texas would have beat Michigan because
Yeah.
their defense was really impressive. I'll say they wouldn't have had 300 yards rushing. That I'm sure of. I'm certain of.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that, and that's a good segue. Let's go into it. Who want to go to our perspective or respective, should I say?
You won.
Bowl
You can
game.
go first.
Okay, so let's go back into the last year, into 2023, December 27th.
Oh, you guys did play in 2023. Go ahead. Sorry, I was used to the games that mattered being played in 24. That's on me. My fault. Go ahead.
You right. You lucky this is a family show because I had it locked and loaded. But nevertheless, our boys going to Arizona, I'm sorry, and play in the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, which is fine. And I'll tell you what, we talked about it earlier when we previewed it. UNLV is a good offensive football team with their what the go offense and
Mhm.
lining up two back. And that number 21, De Jesus, he had me so warm. I was so mad because he was doing everything. And I'm gonna say professional. We had a lot of tough calls penalty wise against us, and I mean repetitive. I mean, I had a I had a stat here. I didn't even want to go back and look at it. The discrepancy, and you've lived that a little bit in the Texas world of penalties and things like that. But anyway,
Lack
we got
thereof.
yeah, but we got the dub 49-36 against a good offensive team. Like I say, shout out to Jason Bean, man. What a way to go out. Offensive MVP, Kenny Logan Jr., what a way to go out. Defensive MVP, most tackles in school history by a DB for his career. What's the number? Can I get a number? 386. So, not too shabby for a strong safety and not really a big guy. So, physical guy. Jason Bean finished 19 of 28, 449 yards of passing, 6 touchdowns, tying single game record set by our very own Todd Reesing, who kind of kickstarted things with Coach Mangino in the Orange Bowl BCS back then. Some people might not even remember what that was, but nevertheless, a credit to him. I mean, golly, man, it was just it was a prideful thing. It was a fun thing to see this team come together, man. Because I mean, UNLV came out and I mean they jumped on us. I mean, us from a special team standpoint, from a offensive standpoint. I mean, they got after us, and I didn't recognize us for a little bit, and I was a little nervous, but we stayed the course and they played their game. Also, without their offensive coordinator, Coach Andy Kolanecki, who is now the OC at Penn State. But we found a way. I was just prideful about it, man. It was fun. It capped off the Christmas week, even though I was kind of under the weather. I felt much better after that. Let me see if I can let me see if I can give you something about this. So I'll keep it at Kansas. Just kind of sum it up about things. Obviously, we've got Jalen Daniels coming back. We had some announcements of our top receivers returning. Did lose our defensive end Austin Booker to the NFL draft. Didn't even play in the bowl game. So that was kind of the writing on the wall. Hell of a player for us. Did lose a key starter, Adams Reed, to Texas A&M from the portal. Good luck to him. Can't be mad about that. We gained a couple of guys. I don't want to.
The same Texas A&M that swears the Big 12 isn't good, but got their offense coordinator and a couple projected starters from the Big 12. Throw that out there.
Amen, not A&M. Amen to that. So yeah, so you're right. So I have a buddy who's a big A&M booster A&M guy. Kind of broke the news. He said I promise I thought we stayed out of Lawrence, but nevertheless, that's just the nature of the beast. So happy about the freshman kid that showed some moxie this year that's coming back. Like I said, like on top of Jalen Daniels coming back. So we've got Devin Neal made an announcement that he's coming back. I don't, really want. I'll never be a hater about kids. I don't know why they're making announcements. Could he have gone to the draft? Yeah, you can declare, but where you would have won is a different story. But it just is what it is. But I'm glad we've got what we've got coming back, man. So the future is bright, and I'm so happy for my alma mater. Luke Grimm, the Grim Reaper's coming back. So it was a good day. Kansas showed up big. I wanted to make the trip, but family time and the holidays is more important. I will talk about what I will throw in a little side note when you talk about your team on what coulda, shoulda, woulda been, and that would have been a great experience, but nevertheless. So to end that off, Rock Chalk Jayhawk. Let me do it one more time just because we did get the dub. And I did see something funny. I've been around. I know what it is. I walked the halls. I walked the hill. I know the history in every sport, but it is at least refreshing, at least hear jokes about it. That Kansas is not just a basketball school; we're a football school also. But I say that to say that I'm not going to stand on that. But I said it to say football is making great strides. That's even something to even like, to be kind of keyed about or whatever. Not to say that Kansas football is a joke by no means. What I'm saying is that they're they're making strides where people aren't coming into Lawrence saying that's a dub. They're making strides where they're being respected. They're making strides that we always see these way too early top 25 projections that they're in the top 25, for next year already. So I mean, it's things like that, that back-to-back bowl appearances. So things like that, guys making. I mean, that kid's a DeSoto kid right there. So I mean, they're going in the right direction. And man, yes, Coach Kulinecki will be missed, but we're gonna find a way. That's the nature of the beast, and we're gonna bounce back, from that. And I have all the confidence in the world in our staff, and our AD, man. That is the dude. Went to school together. That he is the man. So rock chalk, baby. So I was happy
That's
about that.
when you talk about programs that have, I'll save the shot. I'll save the shot.
It's
But
fine. It's fine. Give it to me.
well, I was gonna say for most programs, the goal is to have because especially where one program is so dominant, right?
Mhm.
On a national level, consistently.
Yeah.
North Carolina men experience that,
Mhm.
Duke men experience that.
Mhm.
Where
Just want to show the score.
the goal becomes get your program in a place where you can win 10 games in a season.
Mhm.
That's kind of what success is. The
Mhm.
shot was going to be that everybody can't beat Texas, where at one point, in a given athletic year, all of your programs are inside the top 10. That's not a common thing, right? So we're blessed, Longhorns. Stop being so ungrateful.
Thank
We could
you.
be
I'm
we
I'm I'm glad somebody said it. Thank you.
we
That's a
could be
Texas good.
Kansas. So let's know that.
Oh, well, you know what? But you
I
know
told
what?
you I
That
wanted to save that shot.
but
I
you know
wanted to
what?
save that shot.
You know what?
You
But
made me take
I'll dispute it, because you know what? He's just saying that because the hater. Because yeah, where we don't have every program in the top 25, we've got, besides football and basketball, we've got others that are in the top 25. Our girls
you do, and
volleyball.
I'm
Yeah.
like I said,
Well, don't
but
say we.
there's hold on, but there's a distinct difference between
there is a
we've
difference.
got
There's a
some
difference.
and we've got all.
Yeah,
Quite
but
literally all. So
okay. So
that's I guess that's what I'm saying
exactly. But
is
this is
don't
another
expand
example.
into that.
Well, say this. But this is another example. When you make that comment, Kansas ain't the team you use. Let's look at some other schools in the Big 12. It ain't Kansas. Maybe it's Iowa.
Three out
May,
of the last four
no,
Directors Cups. You can use anybody. I don't care.
but I'm just saying, it may be Iowa State. It may be Oklahoma
It's not.
State.
It's not.
I'm saying that it ain't just Kansas the doormat that you say, oh, that's what I'm saying.
Let me circle back because you're making
Oh,
this a negative, and it was a
no,
positive.
you
Where
threw a shot,
the
and I'm going to
goal
defend my
is
school.
the goal is to get your program in a position where
Yeah.
they can win 10 games. You
Yeah.
guys, I think, have even taken it a step further. Looking at your schedule next season, there's nobody on the schedule you can't beat. Now, some will argue because
Yeah, but you only
some
saying that.
people have left, but
Yeah, but you're
but
only saying that because
it's
of the
not your
strides
fault.
they've made. Yeah.
It is what it is, and
Yeah.
not every Big 12 school can say that. I can
Yeah.
look across Oklahoma State's schedule and see a loss. I can look across Colorado's schedule and see a loss. I can look across Arizona State's schedule and see a loss.
Oh
To
yeah.
be in that air where I can't necessarily look at the Kansas schedule and see a loss with a health in Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you're right.
Now,
Yeah.
what I will tell you, and this is what will be exciting to watch as an outsider, is now you're rolling it. Now you're rolling into some rare air where when those preseason predictions come out, I wouldn't be surprised if Kansas is receiving votes at number one, predicted to win the
Well,
conference.
you say that it was already on ESPN where they mentioned the new Big 12 and teams coming in, teams leaving. They mentioned Kansas being a possible favorite for the Big 12 to
So
be the Big
then,
12 champion. Yes.
then what, right? And that's
Yeah.
what's exciting to me as a college football fan in this new
Yeah.
world is now what? Now,
Yeah.
what did we talk about, right? There are gradual stages to a program.
Exactly.
You lose big, then you
Yeah.
lose close,
Yep.
then you win close, then
Yeah.
you win big.
Oh yeah.
So you guys are in that win close to win big kind of transition year where
Mm-hmm.
I'm really excited to see what happens when you're somebody's biggest game. When you are, because not everybody can live in that world. We
Yeah,
couldn't
you're
for a
right.
while,
Mm-hmm.
where we couldn't handle getting everybody's best game every single
Yeah,
night.
yeah,
And it's just taxing, and kids are playing at a level and programs are playing at a level that they don't it is so hard, and hearing him talk about it both on and off camera, it's just one of those things that Sarkeesian talked about quite a bit this year, that this was one of his first years as a football coach where scouting kind of wasn't a thing for them this year. You still do the work, you still review the film, you still break it down, but you're getting into games and you're legitimately seeing people do things that aren't on film. There were 3 different programs, he said, did things that either they installed it way in the off season and kind of left it there and didn't bring it out until this week, or
yeah,
installed things the week of, which in college football is crazy,
yeah,
to
yeah,
install
yeah.
a game plan that we are only using for this week for this game.
And there's always a wrinkle
Correct.
to an adjustment to how defense plays an offensive formation or vice versa, or how they want to throw in a new
We're
pressure
gonna
that
run this
offense. Yeah,
play, and
yeah.
to layman
But
to
it's
layman
off
us
the yeah,
non-football people, right?
yeah,
What we're talking about is, Dave, what David is saying is it's common for people to run the same play, but maybe this game we're gonna run it out of this formation.
exactly.
We'll
Yeah,
run it out of the shotgun, or we'll run it out
yeah.
of the eye this week, but it's the
Sorry,
same
yeah,
play,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Nothing new to scheme, just window dressing
Correct.
it. Yeah,
What we're talking about is Sark saying we're seeing completely different schemes
yeah.
defensively,
And
from week to
if I
week.
was use a wild example for people out there, like it goes from like you've seen a shotgun team all week in film prep, and then they're on the center the whole game against you. Just
And
that's a small subtle.
that's
Yeah,
a
that's what I
different
mean. Yeah,
thing to adjust to
yeah,
on the fly, because there's so many adjustments in general in a college football game. So
no doubt.
saying that to say, really excited for what Kansas has built, really excited for what they can be. Can they go and touch that rare air and be what basketball is, and
We'll
be
see.
where you come into a game and people give you their best shot and you
Oh
take it
yeah.
anyway?
Oh yeah, and they got a little bit of that because of I think the disbelief when people started talking about KU, it's like they're not for real. So you started getting a little bit, hence the
Yeah.
game day when TCU was rolling 2 years ago. Then you had Fox come in, so like it was they've seen it from different perspective. But enough about the team that did win, as you say. Enough about the team that did win. That's a great segue into the next game we're gonna talk about.
The game day was a great point, because what happened, right, when the lights
Yeah.
got bright?
He's just mad because I said
I'm not mad.
you're right.
I didn't know
But
UNLV was on your schedule next year. That'll be a good game.
I know. And
That
not
was a
only
good
that,
preview.
but we're not gonna go back in the past. We did lose our starting quarterback in that game. He got hurt. So I mean, there's different things like you just brought up losing Texas women's basketball having 2 of their starters out. So it's all relative. Yeah, anyway, so tell me about New Orleans. I got your ass. Tell me about New Orleans, man.
So New Orleans was a good time.
Yeah.
I would hate to see what it looked like if we won,
I,
because boy, we flooded that casino after the game, and the dude. Shout out to Dan, one of my favorite blackjack dealers. He's like, I guess it's the Texas Losers Lounge tonight. I was like, I'll knock all this shit over. Uh, no, honestly, it
That's
was
funny. That would
it,
threw me off guard. I would spit my drink out if I would have heard somebody say.
it was a good game. It
Mhm.
was an incredible atmosphere. Shout out to the Washington fans. Most of them were courteous and gracious. Some of them absolutely acted like they'd never been there before. And they haven't, and I get
Yeah,
that. And
yeah,
I can't knock it. So shout out to them.
yeah.
Um, the players went into the casino after the game, which was wild. But
Where are we?
no,
That's wild.
I think
Where are we at now?
yeah. So a couple of things that stood out in the game. We were snake bitten by some problems that we hadn't had
Hmm.
all year, in terms of or that had reared their head early in the year and then went away
Mhm.
in terms of our third quarter scoring. We didn't score at all in the third quarter in
Mhm.
this game. We had two very uncharacteristic turnovers, fumbles by different running backs.
Mhm.
Um, I just thought we weren't sharp.
Yeah.
I didn't think Quinn was particularly good. I didn't think the play calling helped him at all. And you
Okay.
know,
So was this a moment too big scenario in your opinion?
no, I've
Okay.
one. I thought, well, to be candid,
I'm not trying to be
no,
funny. Now. We're
no,
talking
no.
ball for real.
To
No,
be
we're
candid,
talking
and I
ball.
want to be fair in my, I want
Yeah.
to be fair in my answer. It depends on what you consider the moment being too big, because I didn't think that we played bad because of the moment,
Mhm.
but I thought Washington stepped into the moment.
Okay.
And I
That's
thought they
fair.
were, I thought they were incredible in the moment, in the biggest stage of the year. They played their best game. We did not. But I don't, I'm not going to sit here and say that we didn't play because people were doing things. Like I said, I thought Quinn wasn't particularly sharp
Mhm.
from a discipline standpoint. We weren't particularly sharp. The play calling didn't help us out quite a bit. And again, those two fumbles
Mhm.
on those two drives are probably points. I think Michigan showed us what teams can do to Washington when they're playing
Mhm.
from ahead versus
Yeah.
behind. We
Mhm.
average and we averaged 6.7 yards per carry in the game. So I'm very confident in what could have been.
Yeah.
But like even in that play, right? We're
Yeah.
doing things
Oh
that
yeah.
just aren't characteristic of us, and that we hadn't done all season. So, but on the plus side, you look at a Michigan, you look at those guys that got there,
Mhm.
experienced the moment, knows what it feels like to see the other team's
Yeah.
confetti, knows what it feels like to live in the woulda, coulda, shoulda world.
Mhm.
So I'm really excited to see, how do we bounce back? Where is the program culture? Was it lip service, or is it built to last?
Yeah.
Can we is our depth to a place that can withstand an FCC season?
Mhm.
Can we go and be these great things? To the point you mentioned, I did think the officiating was awful. And I did. And not that it defined the game, because you still had an opportunity to win. And
Yeah.
anytime you still have an opportunity to go win the
Yeah.
game and you don't, it's on you.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Um,
Agreed. Agreed.
but Washington only having 5 penalties,
Yeah.
Texas having 10, some of the holding calls, and some people, just, if you think about it in terms of football or any sport, some teams can play through certain things.
Mhm.
Texas's receivers can't play through illegal contact. They
Mm.
just
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah.
And that's just where we are with it. Texas defenders can't get held and still make the play. We're
Yeah.
not there yet. Will
Yeah.
we be there? And in
Yeah.
short order, I watched Colin Simmons get held all season at Duncanville, and it did not matter.
I
Right?
know y'all excited about that man child.
I've watched Ryan Wingo make catches with three guys on top of him.
Yeah.
So are we entering into this
Mhm.
air where
Yeah.
you can go and play through some of those things? Maybe. But this game we couldn't. Like I said, I thought and some things we did really well. Our third down defense was still as good as it had been. 3 of 11 on third downs. That's very good. Our passing game gave up plays as we thought it might,
Mhm.
and thought
Mhm.
that it could.
Mhm.
We kept their run game in check.
Mhm.
Um, we just didn't. I thought we didn't, and this is credit to Washington. It's I hate to make it about a video game, but it's like Madden, where you just bet on certain players not being patient,
Yeah.
and we weren't. Did we run the ball consistently the way that you should have when you're averaging 6.7 yards a carry? Probably not.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
where we had 28 rushes, probably should have had 48.
Yeah.
I got to go look
Yeah.
at the game. I want to see how many Michigan had.
Yeah, and
But they probably didn't have but 20 because they was averaging 13 yards a carry at one point, which
and
is
that yeah,
insane.
that was two big anomalies, with the runs from Donovan. But we'll get into that. But like, so tell me, so we talked about the secondary, and I even mentioned the secondary. If I had to say Texas had a weakness, but because of the defensive line, and I don't want to I don't want to talk about the other game we're going to talk about, but like, do you think the pass rush got after Penix because he looked comfortable at times?
Did.
I saw them do some things where they influenced, maybe pulled a guard, but they were still passing. Gave an RPO-ish type look where they gave influence to maybe slow down the rush or slow that backer down to give him, some time to look downfield. But he looked. I mean, seeing
Well,
two games in.
we talked about it, and the problem we had, I thought Michigan would have, and they did not, which
Mhm.
is where we got there.
Yeah.
We had, I want to say I believe the statistics say we had like 17 pressures
Wow.
that game, which is a lot.
Hmm.
We couldn't get him on the ground. He
Yeah.
stepped up, he
Stepped up
stepped to
and
the side, he
oh my
scrambled
gosh.
and
Yeah.
made the play. Flash forward to the next game, Michigan doing the same thing. One, they got to him. I think they got 2 sacks on the first 2 drives of the game. And so I think that probably shook him. That probably shook Penix a little bit because he hadn't been on the ground like that in a while.
Exactly. And I was gonna wait to talk
So
about that
then he
later, but
started to
yeah,
see ghosts.
that was
But
a
yeah,
different difference.
no,
Yeah.
I did think that we did. And there's, if you let the highlighted play, there
Yeah.
were so many times where
Mhm.
there's one play that stands out. Byron Murphy, defensive lineman of the year in the Big 12, in his face, bearing down on him, steps to the side, takes the hit, makes a play, ball gets tipped, they
Yes.
still catch it and go score.
Yeah.
Another play, Tavondre Sweat, Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, bearing down on him in his face, steps to the side, steps up, makes a throw up the left sideline where the defender, there's this much space between
Yeah.
the defender and the
Yeah.
receiver. And he put the ball in the only place that it could go
Hmm.
and gave his guy an opportunity. And I thought the receivers were outstanding.
Yeah, I
They're
do.
all all three of them was Polk, Adunze, and the other kid whose name's escaping
Five,
me.
five, 2 and 1.
And
5, 2 and 1. Yeah.
I thought they were Sunday guys, and I thought they were outstanding. He made the throws to the open
What
receiver,
what
and they
what what those
caught
what
it.
those what those the guys you saw in the casino? Because they didn't show up
No,
Monday.
no,
Oh, so they
no,
didn't show
no,
up Monday.
no.
You they did not show up on Monday.
They did, and that's the part of it that was frustrating as a
Mhm.
Texas fan because, like I said, when you watch it, it's like watching your kid brother get beat up, right? It's like I might lose a fight, but you wouldn't be able to manhandle me like that,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
so that's the part, and we'll see. We'll have an opportunity, to see I don't
Let's
want to say
see.
coulda, woulda, shouldas, but
Let's see. I don't know if this is.
and still, I'll be honest and say, I'm heartbroken. Look at that.
I
That's
know.
that's
I know.
not great defense, but it's not
Yeah,
terrible.
but no, he's right. He's there.
That's not
He
great defense, but that's not terrible.
he's there, dude. He's there.
So
God.
that's a ball.
Yeah,
And if they show the one up the left sideline, if they show the
yeah,
tip, they show, all
yeah.
kinds of crazy stuff that
Yeah, but that's a
happens.
credit to the run game. You talked about stuff in the run
Credit to
game
the
right
run game.
there.
And,
Yeah.
and I thought we were what I enjoyed about Washington's game plan is they had a counter. And this is what I love about coaching in general, the game within the game,
Hmm.
where I can't tell you how many times Kansas State, Iowa State, where coaches came in saying, we're going to run the ball because we run the ball.
Yeah,
And I don't give a damn what Texas does.
yeah,
And they didn't have a backup plan.
yeah,
Washington said, okay, we're going to run the ball because we run the ball. But if we can't run the ball, we've got a plan B
yeah,
and a plan C because Texas tightened up late or early fourth quarter. They tightened up all around defensively. I thought Washington went to a quick game. They went to a couple of different things that again, I already was high on Kalen DeBoer. I
mhm,
came away from that game with even more respect for him and the staff and the things they did. They were better than advertised defensively. So like I said, I just thought that they played that game like a
and
game that mattered to
and
them.
they were the better team that night
They
at that
were,
time.
and
Yeah,
they
at that time. Yeah,
were, and that was one of the
and
things that kind of
that'll
after
frustrate
I
you
got
too.
over
Yeah,
the well, after I got over the initial sulking of losing, because anybody knows me knows I
yeah,
hate to lose.
sore, very sore loser. Yes.
But I rounded into one. Penix played the game of his life.
Hmm.
Sometimes that happens. I've seen that
Yeah.
before.
Hmm.
I saw Joe Burrow in 2019,
Yeah.
where it just was nothing you could do that
Oh
night
man,
that would have gotten
scrambling,
him
breaking tackles. Yes.
off his
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
And I've seen it from the other end. We've had Vince Young, we've had Colt McCoy, we've
Hmm.
had guys that they've had their day too, where there's just nothing you can
Oh yeah.
do because they're on. So that was one thing. Two, they were the better team, period. Right? Because there weren't a lot of things to qualify it with. It wasn't they were the better team, but we played bad defensively, or they
Yeah.
were the better
Yeah.
team, but the refs sucked, or whatever. Some
Yeah.
of those things existed in a microcosm, little
Hmm.
small parts of the game. But overall, they were the better team.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a whole lot that Texas could do about it. So
Yeah.
that kind of gave me a little, but this is why I say matchups matter.
Matchups matter.
Because now let's
Matchups
flash
matter.
forward to the next game.
Yes. And my one little small point about being mad about, because if Texas would have won, we would have been up in that thing on in Houston. I was already
We'd have been
getting my
if there was silver, and I told people this, if there
I
were
know.
silver lining, I saved about $5,000, right? Not
Yeah.
having to go to Houston.
Yeah. I was
Would have
ready. I
gladly spent it.
I was ready, man. I was already talking about it. So I had to believe in a little bit, and then, you know, you're a superstitious guy. You could blame it on me that I actually was pulling for him, because I knew I was gonna be in Houston that next week.
No, like I said, I thought again. I think in those things we've talked about this, right?
Yeah.
Reminder to those, your wife coaches basketball, and she's been in positions at the end of the year. You've in football been in positions at the end of the year where there are certain ways that if you lose that way, it fuels you to the next
No
year.
doubt. No
I
doubt.
don't ever believe that going somewhere at the end of the year, just getting your ass kicked, helps you going into that next year, unless you're Mississippi State women that get beat by 60 versus
Yeah.
UConn and come back and beat them in the Final Four the next year.
Yeah.
Other than that unique scenario, that crushes you and it ruins your off
Yeah.
season, and
Yeah.
it does a lot more
Leaves a
damage than
bad
good.
taste in your mouth, yeah, for a while. Yeah.
And what sometimes a loss can be so bad that you feel like no matter what I do, I'm never going to get there. Right. And if you feel
It'll make
that
you, yeah, it'll
way,
make you question.
if you
It'll definitely
feel
make you
that
question it.
way,
Yeah.
it hurts. But
Yeah.
if you were right there, if you had a chance
Mhm.
to win, even as bad as you played,
Yeah.
you still had a final drive to go win that game. How Washington lets that happen, I'll never know. But
I know. And that's what I'm gonna say. I was telling you, I said, I thought at times y'all was sleepwalking, but then when y'all finally decided, hey, this game is about to be over, we need to wake up and
yeah,
do it. And it was like boom, boom, and like y'all ran out of time to
ran
do
out of
what y'all,
time.
and like even like AD Mitchell, like when he caught that pass, Texas was so amped up and so anxious to get up. He mistimed that pass, but he stayed in the air so early and still
So
yanked it.
long. So
Yeah, like it's
the last two
since the
plays,
urgency kicked in, man. Yeah,
if
it's too
you
late.
want, and there are certain games, no matter the sport, where you can pull a segment of the game and it'll tell
Mhm.
the full story of the game.
Yeah.
And I thought the last two plays of the
Yes.
drive told the full story of the game. What did I say in the beginning? I didn't think the play calling helped us out. Why he threw the ball to the flat through on the third down play,
Mhm.
I can't, or what was that? The first down play of that
Well,
drive. Um,
I thought it was
he threw the check down,
uh-huh.
but it wasn't a check. It looked like a check down in real time, but when you see the replay, that was the design. He was throwing
Wow.
to the running back out of the flat. Now Keelan Robinson's very
Make a
fast
play.
and
Yes, he
make a
is.
play,
Yeah,
whatever.
make a play. Yeah.
So that was a shining example of where I thought the play calling wasn't very helpful, and it wasn't on. And that is going to happen sometimes.
Yeah.
You hate that it happened in that game in that moment, but it happens. Sometimes somebody just don't have it. So that was an example of the play calling not being there. Then flash forward to the fourth down play where although it was pass interference, they're not going to
Mhm.
call that in that moment.
In that
We all
moment
kind
to
of
make it
know
aside,
that.
yeah, we all, yeah, that's kind of the
But
trend, yeah.
but still had an opportunity to make a play if you throw a better ball.
Yeah,
So that was a shining example of Quinn not
yeah,
being where I thought he had been at a lot of parts of the season. So that it was kind of some of those things that I thought were disappointing that you had a month. I didn't I don't know. I'm not gonna beat anybody up for because again, I had a chance to sit on it. I've rounded in. You tell me in the beginning of the year, hey, you're 12-2, you win the Big 12, make the playoff. I take that and I don't ask any questions.
exactly,
I sign
exactly.
whatever the devil asked me to sign
Yeah.
and I go on about my business.
But when you're there and you
But
feel
when
it,
you're there and you
uh-huh,
feel it and you had an
uh-huh,
opportunity to go further,
yeah,
and then JJ McCarthy has to beat you, you
mhm,
wonder
yeah,
what coulda, woulda, shoulda. So I just was disappointed all the way around because again, if you told me in a million years, I give one of the, if not the, but definitely one of the top two, top three most creative offensive minds in the college football game a month to prepare,
mhm,
I would have never guessed that we would come out with such a vanilla game plan, and I would have never guessed that we just wouldn't be on in that moment. So
yeah,
it is what it is.
yeah,
Shout out to Washington, like I said, because they were the better team that night. And that was the only reason that
yeah.
I didn't jump off the casino rather than going into the casino
Into the
was
Texas Losers Lounge.
exactly where you could just kind of, and that doesn't happen. How many times you lose and you Dallas, prime example where we lost, but I did
Mhm.
not feel like they were the better team that day.
Yeah,
Period.
yeah, yeah. Oh,
So
no doubt, no doubt, no doubt. Well, we're gonna segue into the big night this past Monday night, and congratulations to Michigan Wolverines. I mean, it was it was a good national championship as far as competitiveness, in my opinion, for the first three quarters. I think they had some things happen, like you talk about uncharacteristically, and one of those things being Donovan Edwards breaking off those two big runs, which is like two longest runs or combined two longest runs in college football playoff history, is things like that. Um, Early in the game, watching it, I was gonna, I was saying to myself, because I'm very critical of the running back position. I was saying to myself, if that kid doesn't make those two big long run touchdowns, I don't know if Michigan is as I don't know if Blake Corum is a factor. I mean, I know it's Michigan is a huddle team. They're ground and pound. They did some old school pin and pull. Really got after and just out physical Washington on both fronts, offensive line and defensive line. So I think Donovan Edwards got them boys kickstarted. Blake Corum, yeah, he's the guy that everybody talks about. He's the good-looking running back that's gonna go probably, in the first round, and I mean, but Donovan Edwards, man, that kid, people don't realize how fast that kid is. I mean, he was striding, but he was leaving those Huskies in the. I mean, he's my player of the game. If they gave the Blake Corum because he outrushed them 134 yards to 104 yards with like 7 more carries. But I digress. Nevertheless, you talked about JJ McCarthy. I thought he was on a. I think Joe Burrow is better than JJ McCarthy as a college football player, but I still thought they were on very good teams. You
why
don't
did
think
you
so?
say that? Why did you
Well,
say that
well,
like that was even a question?
I'm
Who
gonna
had
say
that? Who
well,
had that question?
what I'm saying is, what I said to say, I was saying that these guys get this notoriety. They were on very good teams, and I thought they were both good game managers, not game changers. I
Oh,
thought those
Cam
quarterbacks.
Newton
I
would
thought, yeah,
absolutely refer to
yeah.
JJ McCarthy
Well,
as a
yeah,
game
exactly. And
manager.
that's not a
Absolutely.
that's not a slander. That's not a hate because Cam comes off as a hater to everybody. But I'm just saying as far as like guys making plays and doing what they have to do. Because if I'm coaching that team, I love JJ McCarthy. He's not gonna get us in trouble. He's gonna keep us in good positions. He's gonna see things. Good football IQ. But it is what it is. Now, Michigan's defensive line. Their four down linemen got after Washington like I haven't seen anybody. And I'm talking about with four. They couldn't protect. They couldn't protect this kid. Four linemen. I could probably count on one hand how many times they brought a pressure. They brought the boundary corner twice. 23 almost took his head off 2 times. But besides that, that I was in. I don't want to use the word shock, but I just couldn't believe that they could not protect.
And
They could protect them. I
that's the
mean, it was
thing about
bad. Go back and look at it.
that's the thing about college sports, and you love, well, professional football has kind of the same problem, but that's one of the things I love about professional basketball.
Mm,
Never have I ever
yeah.
seen a 7 game series between two teams and said the team that won maybe was not the better team,
Hmm.
because I beat you 4 out of 7 times, I'm better than you.
Exactly.
In
Exactly.
college football, guys only have to be exceptional that night.
Hmm.
Michigan's pass rush only has to be exceptional that night.
Well, they saved it for that night.
Michael Penix only has to be off that night.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
JJ McCarthy was not good, right? He
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
okay.
He had only
10
had like
for
30.
10
Yeah.
for
It was
18.
very
He 10 for
pedestrian.
18, I think, with
Very
like
pedestrian.
130,
Yeah.
140.
Yeah.
I know he had a QBR of under 60, which
Hmm.
for those keeping score at home is not good. It's
Yeah.
not. So that's why when you talk about things, and I'm really excited, we just made our travel plans to go to Ann Arbor next year. Um, really excited for, what does that game look like when you don't rush for 300 yards?
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
probably and just being honest, I don't know what happens in the pass game. I'm not saying Texas would have won, but I would have been excited to see what does Michigan do when they only rush for 110 yards.
Yeah.
That would have been a season high, by the way, that Texas had given up. I think Texas season high was 108 yards all year
And,
that they've given up in the run
and,
game.
and like you say, just to put a little fact behind it, you talked about it. 303 yards on the ground. Those two running backs both had over 100 yards rushing.
Both with multiple carries over 35 yards.
Yes,
Insane.
yes. And like you say, from a coaching standpoint, and kind of a little old school in me, like you say, I mean, I'm a spread guy. Let's go. We don't need the huddle. Let's signal. But like to see a team huddle, but then come out and just pound and guys flying around, old linemen running down the field. I
Mhm.
mean, just guys just getting after it, and the running back just being patient. And that was 7, man. He was so patient. That's why he bounced in, hit the point of attack, went back door. Like I said, he banged it, bend it, bounced it. That's the stuff I used to tell running backs when running the zone. But it was just
So sufficing it to say, honestly, again, I thought Michigan played a great game. I thought defensively, anytime, and we didn't have that luxury. Texas didn't have that luxury of being able to just rush 4 because we couldn't get them on the ground. So you
yeah.
start to try to scramble, and I appreciate, Pete Kwiatkowski trying different things, because you know
Mhm.
me, if I lose, I'm gonna lose trying every damn thing.
Empty,
I ain't
empty the
gonna
cupboard.
lose.
Empty the
I ain't gonna
cupboard.
lose. I'm not gonna. We get into it about basketball because of the life that we live and the games we go to. I'm like, why
Mhm.
don't you try something different? You know, so as long as if you're gonna lose shooting all your shots. So
Yeah.
I thought we did that. I thought, like I said, I thought Michigan played a complete game. They certainly acquitted themselves as the best team in college football this year.
I
So
mean, you said it. I mean, they only allowed 13 points, held Washington to 46 rushing yards, and they were 2 of 14 on third down. At one time, they were like 0 for 10 on third down
yeah.
conversions during the game. Like it was crazy. So
So they played big in the big moments, and I will say this, and I had this. This might be our soundbite for the weekend.
no,
I talk
I
about
think
the
I think the Texas Losers Lounge is gonna go.
yeah, there you go. I talked we talked amongst ourselves as Texas fans, and Kansas fans know this on the basketball side. We have to make the decision of what's most important. Is it winning? Is it integrity? Is it all these other things? Because going into what we're going into in the SEC, where, and I say this to certain people in our lives, given conferences they play in or what have you, if you look around and you're the only one playing by the rules, you a fool. So I would like to see
Right
us.
there, right there. That's gonna give me the idea of Pat McAfee, and I'm gonna have to preface this. Pat.
These ideas
Yeah,
are his and his
yeah.
alone.
Here's
No, so I think, and this is something that has to be talked about Michigan and about this season, and
oh yeah,
we could very easily be looking back on this year and Michigan has vacated this title.
you know,
Absolutely.
and you
That
said
is
that.
not that is not
Yeah,
a crazy
it's not
that
a
is
crazy
not a
thought.
crazy
Notion at
thought
all. It isn't.
at
It isn't.
all,
It isn't at
where
all.
they vacated this win and we don't have a national champion for this season.
And
Um
but it's crazy because everybody's different. Everybody's loved and hated differently. Everybody's forgiven for different things and not forgiven for different things, whatever have you. But there was a comment made, and it was said that okay, this was going into this game, and Michigan would have won. It was going to be an asterisk. It was going to be tainted. But then
hmm?
they talk about the football gods. I think it was on a Pat McAfee show. It was on the football gods didn't punish them, and nothing bad happened. So
Sometimes you
they're
can't.
they're they're innocent. They're innocent.
No,
Like
sometimes
yeah,
you
like
can,
I'm
and
gonna
that
just
goes
say
back to that
yeah.
age-old adage that I hate. Sometimes people say, and I probably yell at a basketball game, ball don't lie, ball don't lie.
You do.
Well, if
That
you
doesn't always happen. Yeah,
call a foul and you send Steph Curry to the line,
yeah,
whether that was a foul or not, that ball's going in.
yeah,
So sometimes the ball do lie,
yeah,
right? Depends on the situation. And I thought this is very, very much what I just said about Cat Williams earlier. And sometimes people do this. Sometimes people lie when they didn't have to.
hmm
Sometimes people cheat when they didn't have to. Michigan very well could have ended the season in the exact same spot that they ended today,
You're right.
if not cheating.
Team was good
That
enough. Yeah,
that team was good enough
yeah,
to
yeah,
where I think you can say Barry Bonds same way.
yeah,
He would have hit a whole lot of home runs without the juice. Mark
yeah,
McGuire would have
yeah.
hit a home run without the juice.
You're exactly. I do agree with
But
that.
they did.
They were so good that you there wasn't the type of team to say that if they wouldn't have cheated they wouldn't have been there. Yeah,
Correct.
yeah. They were good. They were very good. Yeah,
But they did.
yeah,
And you got to pay the piper and you got to, I think they're going to do. I will say this where I will give Kansas props. Kansas wrote a whole new playbook. And if Texas ever finds itself in trouble with the NCAA, take the can. Do not talk to nobody. Don't help. Don't cooperate. We want to talk. No, hell no. We not talking to nobody. You want to fine us, fine us. You want to suspend me, suspend me. I ain't helping you do nothing. Oklahoma State showed us that. They two programs in the exact same scenario. One said deny and don't comply. Other one said I'm gonna help you and do whatever you need. And the one that helped and did whatever they need, they got killed for it.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
but putting it on Michigan, this isn't a crazy world where we'll look back and say everybody that was alive during this time, we know who won. We know who was the best team in college football this year.
yeah.
Now, that's not to say because how many times do we go in a football game or in a basketball game or any sporting event and the reason you play the game, the best team don't always win.
Yep.
So did that maybe protect them from those kinds of losses
Yeah, yeah,
where one day, a school had an opportunity to be exceptional and do different things and do all this and catch them slipping because they had
hmm
some close games. They didn't blow
yeah,
everybody out this
yeah,
year.
yeah.
So did that cheating protect them from that kind of loss? Maybe. So, like I said, but I'm not even saying that to completely knock them. I'm saying for my team and my program,
Yeah, yeah.
we got to think about, do we want to win?
What's most important? Like you
What's
said,
most important?
what's most
Because
important?
you have to go to Ann Arbor. You got to
Yeah.
go to Oxford. You got to go to Tuscaloosa, where
Mhm.
people, I had that argument today. People are like, oh, well, Nick just didn't want to adjust or whatever. They've been giving out chargers in Tuscaloosa, Alabama for 15 years. Nick Saban knew, and I know that for a fact.
Once again, the
If I
comments
had
and the ideas of
if I
Eric
had to
Foster are
go to court
his
today,
alone.
I could prove that Alabama been giving out chargers on consignment for 15 years. So No, Nick Saban is just tired. He ain't retiring because he couldn't adapt. He just tired.
Yeah.
So, um, no, saying that to say, I'm just really excited about college football, where it
Oh, no
is,
doubt. No
where
doubt.
it's headed, putting some of these storylines to bed. Is Texas back? I don't know. TBD. We'll find out.
Well,
Is
definitely.
Michigan for real?
Exactly.
TBD. We'll find out next year. Because I tell you what, they losing a lot,
Oh yeah.
maybe up
May,
to and
may,
including their head coach.
no doubt. No doubt.
Um,
I
and
tell
they
you
got to
what.
play next year. They got to play, really
Yeah.
play,
Because everybody's going to be in some tougher conferences relatively. I mean, the
unless you're
competition,
Kansas. Yes. And you know what? I don't know why
dude.
you shy away from that shit, and you shouldn't.
Shy
That
away
you know
from
what
what?
it's like. You know what it's like. Me call like the mid 12, right? Like you shy away from that. Embrace. That's like people say, "Oh, Texas is only Texas because they got money." So if you
Oh
broke,
no,
just
but
say
but but
that.
no, but
But
that's a
you
good
can't
thing.
help.
That's a
You
good thing.
can't help.
Being
That's what I'm
called the
saying.
mid-12 ain't a good thing. So I'm
That's
not
what I'm
taking that
saying.
shit.
You
Yeah.
can't help. It's not because people is basically saying you wouldn't. You're not that. You're only good because you got money. That
Um,
ain't that's not a great thing. That's
well, that, but that,
that's
but that,
literally that's somebody telling you only got your wife because you got money.
yeah, but
That
that,
ain't
but
a good thing.
that ain't the
That's
truth
not a
though.
good thing.
That ain't the
I
truth
know,
though.
but that's not a good thing. So saying that to say you can't control who's on your schedule.
No doubt. Yeah,
You
no
can
doubt.
only control the result. So
Yeah,
I tell you
yeah.
what, if I'm Texas and I had the opportunity to you tell me Eric go play in the SEC or go play in the mid 12 and dominate, shit. Give me the mid 12. Give me the mid 12 and I'm gonna beat everybody up.
No, because
And
y'all
and
left and y'all wanted that, so you go
it's
flourish in
time
it.
because it's time.
I'm not gonna. We're
It
not gonna
is
get it.
time for us to go
We're
be.
not gonna get
It's
into
time
that.
for us to go be amongst our peers. We tired. Our back
Put
hurt.
put
Our back
whatever.
hurt.
Put some
We've been
respect on it.
carrying.
It is
We've
the
been
big.
carrying the
It's the
conference.
new Big 12. It's the
We've
new
been
Big 12.
carrying the conference for years.
And
Our
and
back hurt. We're
and I
tired.
okay. Well, be tired, but you better eat your vegetables because you gonna have to wake
Hey,
up.
and that is what I'm excited about because how many
I
times
wish we could fast forward. I just want to see it.
how many people do we know that learn how to swim because they daddy threw their ass in that 6 feet deep? And that was it. And that's where the adage people, for those young enough not to know, sink or swim, that's where it came from.
What we
They
gonna
threw
see
you in the
because
six, they threw you in the six
see,
feet deep,
you're
and your
right.
ass either sank or you started swimming.
But it's a different generation, so they those things don't apply. It's child abuse. So whatever. I'm gonna end it.
Shout
I'm
out
gonna
to Eddie Reese and the 12 men's and women's swimming and diving championships. We know how to swim in Austin. So I look forward to it.
no, there he goes. Well, I'm you know what? See, you're right. You're right. I shy away from it because I'm gonna stay professional. I'm not gonna, what do you say? What's more important?
David, if we're
What?
talking if we're talking at this time next year and Kansas has a Big 12 title and what would assuredly be a conference or a playoff berth,
Which yeah,
you
will be.
ain't going that's what people how many times have you met somebody that graduated from Harvard or Yale or wherever? You ever asked them what their GPA was? No. It don't matter. I
You're
don't give a
right.
damn how I get there. You ever ask a rich person how they made their money? Probably not.
You just know
Nobody
they are.
cares.
Well,
You just know that they ended up where anybody that does this want to be. So Kansas has an opportunity to end up where I want to be
oh,
as
no
a
doubt,
Texas
no
fan
doubt.
at the end of the year, and
I
they got
totally
an
agree.
easier road than us to do it.
Yeah.
So I am excited to see, can you go get there? Now, it may hurt you once you get there because you haven't been tested, you haven't taken those lumps, you haven't done those things. Same, and people are all excited about Group of Five and blah blah blah. It is all fun and games
Oh.
until Tulane has to go play between the hedges,
Well,
and then it's not
that,
funny. What's
and that,
that?
well, that's kind of a bad example because of what Tulane did to USC a couple years ago. But what happened to Liberty
Exactly.
against?
You get
Or
my
yeah,
point.
yeah. Oh, I
It
get it. I get
becomes
you. Yeah, I
it
get you.
becomes
Yeah.
that remember the Titans clip. It ain't no fun no more, is it?
Yeah.
Zero
Football,
fun,
yeah,
sir.
zero fun. You're right,
So
but and I give it to you. I say this has all been great and new, and I'm in a I wouldn't say transition, but it's a weird wheel I gotta ride sometimes as a alum,
Yeah.
as a coach,
Yeah.
and then as a 3-year, two-time All Big 12 running back.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a tough wheel. It's tough to navigate sometimes, and where you never want to come off as I'm not a know-it-all. I'm not, but I like to stay modest. It's fine.
Lean
Yeah,
into your greatness.
I like
That's what we'll work
well
on
that's
in the
why
off season. So
yeah.
when we come back in the next season,
I
you will
appreciate you
have
for that.
leaned into your greatness.
I appreciate you for that. But no, I will say this, and we're gonna be done. We're gonna wrap up and talk about it all. There was a question that somebody did pose, and it was, does Connor Stallions get a ring? I thought that was great. I'm not an instigator, but that was a great
If he
question.
don't, he gonna steal one. So shout out to him.
I
No, and
never,
that's
I never want
you
to put
know
the right
what
name in my mouth, but it was said on TV, and
you
I
know
was
what, and
busting a gut.
I
That is
honestly
that's a realistic question.
I honestly believe that if you tell the I'm a full story. I'm a give
Yeah,
me all of the context and let me make my own decision.
yeah.
When I tell somebody 10 years from now, Michigan cheated in this way, right? But they were really good.
Mhm.
And we don't know what would have happened had they not cheated. I can tell you they're really good because
Yeah.
those last two games,
Mhm.
three games, depending on what they had from, you assume from that moment that everything broke forward,
Mhm.
everything they had was no good anymore, right?
And
So what was their how many games did they play? We gotta go look at when that broke.
yeah.
But probably their last 6 games, right? Last
Mhm.
four of the regular season, last three of the regular season, Big Ten championship, and then two playoff games. You assume all those plays and all the reconnaissance they had were no good at that point.
Mhm.
So look at the teams they beat. They beat Alabama. They beat Washington. They beat Ohio State. They beat all these teams head up.
Mhm.
So, me given that full context, they're probably still the best team in college football this year.
Yeah.
Because those 3 wins alone, you beat Ohio State, you beat the SEC champion in Alabama, you beat the Pac-12 championship champion in Washington.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you probably are still, but you cheated
Yeah.
to
And
get there.
and you're right. And you're right. And when that story is told, just like anything else, it reminded me when you first said it, it reminded me of the documentary about University of Miami. I didn't know who that Nevin Shapiro guy was
Yeah,
until that
right.
documentary. Like, you didn't know what the fall was, what the reason, what was going on, whether it was right or wrong, what he was trying to help, underprivileged guys that were, giving their all in the football field, whatever. But like you say, that story is going to be told, and all right now, little kids, people that haven't been born yet, whatever, know that in the 2023-2024 season, Michigan was a national champion. They're not going to know who Connor Stallion, whatever. Coach was suspended for 6 games total, in the beginning of the year, towards the, end of the year. So so yeah, it is what it is. But like you say, but that is it. I will say this. That's a wrap on the season. New Big 12, Arizona, Utah, Arizona State, Colorado. Farewell, Texas,
Yeah.
Oklahoma. I'm a
I'm
traditionalist,
glad we
but
drug each other into this. I don't know if we
yeah,
ever told the
yeah,
story of how this came about,
yeah,
but just short context, right? I knew from conversations and life stories and all, I knew David had a lot to offer the college football world. So I consistently told him, man, you need a podcast. You need to be sharing your chalk talks. You need to be sharing your thoughts, sharing what you know. And then he had some other people in his ear saying, man, you need podcasts, man, you need to be sharing what you know. And then he said, all right, Eric, I'll do it, but if I do it, you got to do it with me.
That's it. And I
Right.
appreciate
So
you.
I'm
I couldn't
glad
have,
I
I
pushed
couldn't have
you to
done it. Yeah.
do it.
No, I
I'm glad I
appreciate
pushed
you.
you to do it. I'm glad you pulled me to do it.
Yeah.
It's been fun. We'll
Oh,
be
no doubt.
even better next year.
Exactly.
We got some
Exactly.
we got some really good people that we could have brought on this year, but
I know.
we care about our name, we care about our product, we care about things we do. So I'm
Yeah.
really excited for next season with a
Yeah.
lot more planning, a lot more forethought.
And there were people that wanted to do it, and I appreciate it, and we couldn't get them. Just the timing working out. One of them being my brother, who is has commentated, done sideline for the high school games for almost 20 years. He's got a different insight from you and me. He's very confrontational and controversial, and he takes pride in it. So it's
And
not
he's our
nothing I'm
Kendrick
saying
Perkins.
wrong.
We
Yeah,
might be a 3-man panel next year. I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. So
I want the third man to be Mr. Wimbush though. I want your daddy on here,
well.
and damn it, I'm boycotting the show. I'm not coming on till your daddy comes on.
Well, we talked about it after we gave him some time. I went to the house and I told him, he said, I ain't doing that shit. That was a quote. I'll have to beep it. I don't know, but I mean, I don't know if that'll even make it, but I
No,
mean,
that's good.
it,
You can
it,
leave
it
that
is
one.
all fun, man. It's all love, but I appreciate it. I appreciate all y'all, man. The people that gave feedback, that tuned in, that subscribed, that showed love, that listened, man, and gave me feedback. I know Eric on his end had people going at him because I mean he is around people constantly, and even his boys gave some critiques for me. He said, "Man, tell your boy to go in, let him know." I mean, he said he done been there. Tell him, So it's just,
We got a lot of wanted feedback, some
yeah.
unwanted too. Uh,
And that's
but
just the
no, we're
nature of the
grateful
beast.
for it all.
Yeah, that's the nature of the beast, man. So this is us, man, signing off for the first full season of Talking Ball, man. I mean, I had a ball. I didn't know how this was gonna be, like Eric mentioned earlier. I didn't know if I was gonna like it. I didn't know if I was gonna look like an idiot, sound like it, the chalk talk, my tongue being too big for my mouth when I want to pronounce certain words. Like I'm in my 40s. Obviously, you could gather that,
We
but
had fun though.
you still worry about those things,
Yeah.
because say your name is on something and you want it to be good, but this will be the last you'll see of us, for a while, but I'll see Eric within the week, So, man, but I appreciate all y'all, man. Y'all take care. God bless. And as always, rock chalk.
Praise the Lord and hook 'em horns.
Later.